As the NHL playoffs continue to rage on for the Vegas Golden Knights, the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Islanders, and the Tampa Bay Lightning, I've had a lot of time as a Jets fan to reflect on the postseason, reflect on the regular season, reflect and think and ponder my thoughts on the direction on this club and where they're going, what paths they're going to take this offseason, and everything in between. And the key topic, the key thing that I keep coming back to in my head when I think about the Winnipeg Jets and the plans for the future and everything to do with this club moving forward into next season, it always comes back, every road comes back to Blake Wheeler. And it isn't because I hate Blake Wheeler, even though I've had a lot of different opinions on the guy from the regular season into the playoffs and everywhere else in between that as well, because he has had a very interesting, polarizing season, and to be honest, the entirety of the Winnipeg Jets had a polarizing season, and a polarizing end to the season with all of that stuff and drama that happened in that Habs series. Point being, though, as I look forward to next season and what the Jets might be doing in the offseason, Blake Wheeler is this one question mark that I just can't wrap my head around right now. And it isn't because I don't think the Jets are going to be moving on from Blake Wheeler. He's going to be expansion draft, selected by the Kraken. None of that stuff. It has to do with what do you do with Blake Wheeler moving forward into next year? Do you keep him on that top line? Is he still a top 6 guy for this club? Is he better suited on a third line? What are we going to do with that contract? How is he worth the money still? How bad is it going to look next year? And all the other things in between that. So before we get too much further in this video, make sure to consider subscribing if you haven't already, because we are a fan of every single team here on this channel. This may be a Jets themed, and I am maybe a biggest Jets fan ever, but you can bet your butts that I got Vancouver jerseys, New York Islander jerseys. I've got every type of jersey hanging in that closet over there. And the reason I do that is because we hate no teams and we hate no fan bases on this channel. So if you're a fan, regardless of the team that you root for, definitely consider dropping a subscription. It really does help this channel grow, and make sure to follow me on all of my socials. But back to the main topic at hand. Why and what direction will the Blake Wheeler be going with the Winnipeg Jets next year? Do you keep Blake Wheeler, and what do you do with him? I'm going to be answering all your guys' thoughts that you have about the guy, and answering some of my thoughts as well, and just explaining them and where I'm at right now with what Blake Wheeler is currently as a player, as the captain, and what he's going to most likely potentially look like based off of advanced stats and just the eye test currently going towards next season, and so on and so forth. And the one thing that I want to talk about right off the back is that Blake Wheeler can still put up points. At 34 years old, about to be 35 in a month, he was still able to put up 50 games played. 15 goals for 31 assists, 46 points. That's a pretty good, impressive stat total, being 4 shy of just a point per game in a season that was already shortened due to COVID, and also an injury-shortened season for Blake Wheeler because he had a concussion and had some other injuries that he was dealing with that were nagging him from time to time, and he finally took himself off to get healthy. But the one thing that we want to talk about isn't about Blake Wheeler being able to still be offensively gifted, because even though he still has declined in a lot of different areas where you've seen it affect his offense and the ability to put up as many points as he had, this isn't the Blake Wheeler from 2017, 18, 18, 19 that had back-to-back 91-point seasons. This isn't that guy anymore. He's still a great player, and he's still an offensively gifted talent, especially for the Winnipeg Jets and the way that he's, they use him in the power play and whatnot. But when you look at Blake Wheeler, the big black hole is defense. Blake Wheeler is, without a doubt, the worst even-strength defender in the entirety of the NHL. At 2% for even strength 5-on-5 defense stats, he's the worst in the NHL. And you can look at this here, look at this margin. Look how far away everyone else is from Blake Wheeler. That is embarrassing. And the fact of the matter is that, yeah, you can make the argument that Blake Wheeler is still a fantastic gem for this club. Oh, he's a great guy, he's an offensive beauty, he's the captain, blah, blah, blah. I don't take any of that away from him. But when you're that bad on 5-on-5 defensive hockey, and not only are you, Blake Wheeler, that bad at 5-on-5 defense, your line mates are as well. Blake Wheeler is without a doubt the worst 5-on-5 defender, but you can bet your butt that Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor aren't too far behind in the advanced stats when it comes to just having a collectiveness when it comes to playing defense. That line does not play any 5-on-5 strength defense when they're on the ice. It's non-existent. We already know that. They're non-existent in the neutral zone with the back check, and they're non-existent in their own end. And when they are in their own end and they get trapped in there, God bless, cross your heart, hope to die, do whatever you gotta do, and just prepare yourself for the inevitable, because they will score on us. Because that's just the fact. Blake Wheeler is not a good defensive player. Not to mention the fact that even without going into advanced stats, if you're not too familiar with them, and just basing it off of the most simple, defensive stat that you can use, which is plus-minus, regardless of how you feel about plus-minus, Blake Wheeler still, even in the entirety of the NHL, and, yeah, he was able to get that up a little bit compared to where it was at some points in the season, he was still finished the year with a -17, but there were times where Blake Wheeler was a -26. He was able to get that up somehow by having some good runs there and getting some points and just not being the worst at the end of the season, but still. Blake Wheeler had a horrible, abysmal defensive year, and he has for a while. Blake Wheeler's defensive play has not been good. When you look at his offense versus finishing on this advanced stat graph right now, look at the drop that he's had from 1920 to 2021 when it comes to defense. Oh my god, like, it's just embarrassing. And I don't think that Blake Wheeler is a horrible player, don't get me wrong. And even though I've said thoughts about Blake Wheeler that a lot of you disagree with, about the captaincy being stripped and all these other things from the poor play we saw from the entire collectiveness that was the Winnipeg Jets in that second round against the Habs, I still think Blake Wheeler is an effective player. Do I think he's worth $8.25 million for the next 3 years? Absolutely not. But that doesn't mean that you can't use a guy like Blake Wheeler still wearing the C and be effective in different roles. The only thing is, will Paul Maurice actually do that? Paul Maurice has this inability to realize that Blake Wheeler is not the same guy he was when he was able to put up back-to-back 91-point seasons, even 3 years ago and going on into next season. And the reason for that is because his physical play has taken a massive, massive decline. And that's what I'm talking about when what I'm referring to there, ladies and gentlemen, is his ability to drive the puck, his speed especially, and also his physicality. Blake Wheeler gets rubbed off the puck a lot more. He used to be able to go in and win puck battles extremely well, especially behind the net and in the far corners in the offensive zone of the other team that they're pursuing. And what happens this season, especially the time, is Blake Wheeler would get double teamed or lose the puck in his feet, just not be that same presence and that dominant guy that he was when it came to winning battles that we saw a few years ago and throughout the rest of his career, being honest. It's not the same guy that drives hard to the net and looks to finish that way. This is a guy that is more passive, a guy that can't keep up with the speed of the modern day top 6 NHL forwards, and it shows at time. There's a reason why that top line of Scheifele, Wheeler, and Connor is so sluggish throughout times in the regular season, and sometimes people are like, oh, I have no idea why, they're just playing bad hockey, and it's because Blake Wheeler slows down those two players. And when you have to make up for a guy being so much slower than you, it affects the way you enter the zone, it affects the way you move the puck, it affects everything you do when it comes to the game of hockey when you have a guy so much slower and you have to, slow down the game for him while everything else around you is moving at the same tempo. That's a huge, huge loss to the offensive skill you get from Connor and Scheifele, and there's a reason why those guys at times look the way they do defensively and offensively, with that entire line being a black hole in certain games against certain matchups because of that speed aspect that Blake Wheeler has lost in his game. Now, what do I think you do with Blake Wheeler at this point in his career as the captain and whatnot? You drop him to the third line. Personally, I think that Wheeler has the ability to be one of the best third line guys in the entire NHL. If you look at the way Wheeler moves the puck, the way he's able to keep the puck on the power play, how he moves the puck and facilitates it as well, this type of guy would be perfect at being able to finish against certain third lines again in the NHL, and also just being able to bring out the best from guys like Adam Lowry. Adam Lowry is a very defensive-minded third line center. We know that, but the great thing about Adam Lowry is he has the ability to turn on his offensive instinct in a second and be able to be more of a threat when he finds the time is right to do so. And I think that having a guy like Blake Wheeler on that line could also not help maybe make up for the defensive side of things because of how good Lowry can be defensively to help make up for that, but also to help provide a little bit more offense to Adam Lowry's game and to help Blake Wheeler kind of facilitate the offense a little bit more. Because when you look at the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs, we talk about how great our depth was in the regular season, but when it came to the playoffs, it was almost non-existent for depth scoring. What the Winnipeg Jets could do by dropping Wheeler down to that third line is get a very skilled guy who still has the ability and the mindset to make top line plays for a top 6 unit in any NHL team, but doesn't have the body to do so anymore, being slotted down to a role where he can be more skillful and a slower role that's not as fast moving, where he can play his game more better and properly against a lineup and a matchup that won't be so aggressive and much faster than what he brings to the ice every night. So when you look at what Blake Wheeler brings as a forward right now with the age and what the team has with him under cap and whatnot, the best thing I think that Paul Maurice can look at doing next season is drop Blake Wheeler down, give Nikolai Ehlers that opportunity to really jump in and make himself the number one option offensively for this club, because personally Nikolai Ehlers, in my opinion, is the best Winnipeg Jet forward, even over Mark Scheifele with the way he plays. You're allowed to disagree with me there, but I love Nikolai Ehlers. There's a reason why that home jersey's got a Nikolai Ehlers name on the back, and that's because he's my favorite Jet after Laine got traded. I think that Ehlers needs to kind of get, pushed into this role of not just being a top 6 guy, but being a number 1 winger for the Winnipeg Jets, playing on the top line with Scheifele, and I think that that's the best thing forward for this club. Blake Wheeler is still a great guy, and although I have my gripes with him right now and the way that he's probably been able to lead the room, even though I have no idea how that room looks because I've never stepped foot in the Jets locker room, point point being, even though I have my gripes with the guy right now, I do think that he can still be a very useful player for us, even if he's being overpaid a couple $1 million. It doesn't really matter. The Jets do have that, cap. They can afford to bite that right now. And the best part about this also is that it's only 3 more years, and Blake Wheeler was still in this year where he was horrible defensively and had a really big regression year, in my opinion, compared to where he was last year. He was still able to put up 46 points in 50 games. That's an impressive margin, and that's the whole point of this video, is that all you have to do with Blake Wheeler to use him correctly is use him correctly, and it's as simple as that. Paul Maurice did not use Blake Wheeler correctly this year. He played him way too much on the top line, and he forced that top line to try to work, even though it was very obvious that they didn't have that connection, that spark, and that just, same type of game and speed that they had going back even 2 years ago to when Blake Wheeler had 91 points with the Winnipeg Jets. You need to get Blake Wheeler playing at his level of hockey, the way he's playing right now, but have him better matched up against other opponents, and having him not slow down Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor would be huge for their game. It can help our offense to be more faster, more dynamic, and just a better flowing forward unit for the future of this club while we try to chase a Stanley Cup. So let me know all your thoughts about Blake Wheeler, the direction this club's taking, and where you think he's going to slot into the lineup next year. Let me know all your thoughts about Blake Wheeler and the Winnipeg Jets and the entirety of the NHL in the comment section below as always. Make sure to subscribe regardless of the team that you root for. Make sure to also follow all my socials. Follow the Prairie Puck podcast as well on Spotify. All of those links are down for your discretion at the description below. Go and do all that. Check them all out. It really does help the channel out and really help. Any support you can give is really greatly appreciated as always. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Pig City Hockey. I hope you enjoyed. Peace, love, and positivity to wherever you are in the world. Have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.